Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Hello and welcome to Primetime Local News. My name is Thomas Wildman and thank you for joining us. The Lloyd Catholic School Division is requesting funding from the city for an artificial turf field. Set to be located at Holy Rosary, a new multi-sport turf field is planned to move to artificial grass with the intention of getting more use during the winter season.
The current field is natural grass, and as you can appreciate, it gets torn up a little bit during playing, but it also becomes very frozen and very hard during the winter, or as we go into the winter. And some of the sports, namely football, can run into late November.
The project is expected to cost over $2 million, primarily backed by the $1 million in grant funding from the province of Alberta and a $200,000 ask from the city, which was approved.
The turf would allow the community to host not just football events, soccer, rugby, and other events like that on a much longer season than we currently have, because they would be able to start in the spring as the ground thaws. Not a good time to be out on it. They would actually be able to start practicing or playing.
The construction is anticipated to begin in 2025. The Lloydminster Public Library is having a book sale right now as a way to get rid of some old books. There's no set price on the books that are being sold, and library patrons are able to purchase the books for any price, with the money going toward maintaining the fun atmosphere at the library.
They cost whatever you want. It's pay what you will. So whatever you can afford, you can take 10 books for $1, or you can make a donation of $10, or whatever. Any little bit helps. And then the money will go towards purchasing new books and funding our programs within the library.
The book sale is not the only exciting event the library has to offer. Tomorrow will be Glow Day, which will be an exciting way for kids to spend a rainy afternoon.
So tomorrow it's supposed to rain, the first time in a good long time this summer. So we think that people will be looking for something to do. So we're having Glow Day in the library. We'll have some games and a couple of crafts and a photo booth. It's completely free, and it will run from noon to 5.
More details on the library's book sale and the other upcoming events can be found on their website and their Facebook page. Abby St. John is back at Border Paws for our weekly edition of Pet Project.
I'm back at Border Paws Animal Shelter for our weekly edition of Pet Project, and we have a returnee on our show, Skedaddle. She's off exploring the room, which is a huge change from when we had her on the first time, where she didn't move a single muscle through that entire interview. So tell me a little bit about how she's been doing, what her best fit will be.
So Skedaddle has been here since December of last year. She's one of our longest residents. And we're approximating her age to be about 2 years old, so she's still quite young when she came in. Very, very skittish, very nervous, very scared. Hence the name Skedaddle, because that's what she would do as soon as she saw a person. In the past couple of months, though, she's really just opened up and has been more out and about. Yeah. She would hide in any little hole she could find whenever a person was in here, and now, as long as you're slow, no loud noises, she's perfectly fine for you to go up and give her chin scritches and butt scritches. She absolutely loves attention. But the right kind of attention, right? Respect her boundaries. And I feel she would do super well in a home with maybe a single person or a couple, or somebody who has older kids who would know, respect the boundaries and not to be super loud and stuff. But I feel like in a home environment, she would absolutely thrive. Just from the little bit that she's gotten here, it's leaps and bounds. I'm so proud of her.
Yes, absolutely. And I saw the massive difference coming in. Last time she wouldn't even let us go near her. So we had to be very cautious around her, very slow. But, she reaches her head right out to pet you now. And it just goes to show that this room is very beneficial for those types of cats. And it helps them kind of integrate more into a household once they do end up getting adopted. Would you recommend a single pet household, though?
I would. She's good with other cats. I don't think she's a huge fan of dogs. Just because they'd want to sniff and be in her face, and I know she would not like that. So I'd say either a house with another cat would probably be fine, as long as they weren't like a young kitten that's going to be like rambunctious and stuff. I feel like she'd
kind of on the same level.
Yeah,
which is awesome, and I think that she'll do very well. Once she gets adopted, she'll thrive, especially like you said. Now you do have your adoption discount still going on for this month. We still have a couple more months left, or a couple more weeks left in August, and you have that sale still going on. So give more information on what people should know on the discounts.
So for the entire month, we have 40% off on all the adoptable animals. That includes a bunny that we have right now. So a cat that's normally $200, you're gonna get a nice little, about $120, right? So it's a bit more of an incentive to adopt these guys out, because as much as we love them and love taking care of them, we do want to see them get into homes with actual families, and so that they can thrive and survive and just be happy
and be the star of their own show,
right?
Which is awesome, and those sales definitely do help. We've mentioned it time and time again. A lot of the time it comes down to the price, and this definitely helps, especially when you have to get all the other equipment too when purchasing or adopting an animal. Now going off that, you have a barbecue coming up, St. Thomas. So tell me a little bit about when that is and what people should know.
So on the 29th, which is a Thursday, St. Thomas is going to be hosting kind of like a back to school barbecue. It starts at 6. There will be some staff here on site with a couple of animals, and we're hoping to see everybody out, kind of help support the shelter. All the money comes back to help these guys get them any medical attention they might require. If any are on special food, that can get a bit pricey, so those things definitely help. So we're 6 p.m. St. Thomas, Thursday the 29th.
And barbecues are always a great thing, and especially like you said, it's almost the end of summer. This is a great way to kick off the school season.
And I love food.
Exactly. Now, same question as every week. What donations are you in need of?
We are in need of cleaning supplies, things like laundry, soap, bleach, floor cleaner, disinfectant. We're also still looking for the big Kong-sized toys for all of our dogs are large breeds, and we are at capacity for canines right now. They do go through the toys pretty quick, so that would be greatly appreciated. Peanut butter, can't go wrong with the peanut butter, as long as it does not contain xylitol, because that is toxic for dogs. And wet and dry kitten food, because we have lots and lots of kittens. Please spay and neuter your pets.
Yes, definitely. And this isn't the first litter that you've had in the last couple of months either. It's been probably...
We have over 50 kittens in our care between the shelter and the fosters.
Yes, so lots of litters, lots of kittens. They're cute, but there's a lot of them to find homes for. So hopefully you guys are able to do that. And thank you again for joining me. Skedaddle, she's skedaddled. But she has definitely made leaps and bounds and is a world difference from the first time that we saw her. So hopefully this time around it works, because she is also the oldest resident, one of the oldest residents. So hopefully this time around is successful. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll have more Primetime local news after the break. Sunday, September 15th, is the annual Terry Fox Run in Lloydminster and across Canada. Stacey Comer spoke with a researcher who receives funding from the money raised through the run to find out how it helps in the fight to cure cancer.
We are a few weeks away from the Terry Fox Run nationally and locally here in Lloydminster, and many people work throughout the year to raise money for the Terry Fox Foundation. And we have a very special guest joining us today, Dr. Sachin Kachel, who is, and I'm going to try and get this right, an associate professor at the U of M, a leading researcher in precision oncology, and also part of the Marathon of Hope Cancer Center Network. And you are co-leading a project to pursue an end to cancer through precision medicine. Did I get that all correct?
You did, and thank you very much for having me today.
All right. Well, first of all, can you tell me a little bit about precision medicine for those of us who maybe don't quite understand what that means?
Sure. So when in the context of cancer, a lot of the treatments that came about in the 70s and 80s and 90s actually have prevailed for a number of years and decades as the kind of broad stroke approach to treating cancer. These are very good treatments that have had some success. As we've now progressed in our research and looked at genomics, the individual mutations we all have that make us different, and the genomics, the mutations that we incur in getting cancer. We look at certain genes that are turned on and off, and these genes are turned on and off when we develop, when we grow, when we age, and then become elderly. And then we have individual proteins that these genes regulate. So these proteins are the functional unit of the cell of how we function on a day-to-day basis. So our understanding of how both genomics and expression and proteins are at a point, it's really exciting now where we can start linking how these changes may relate to the formation of cancer, but also special types of drugs that have recently been developed so we can maybe customize a treatment strategy or a regimen for each individual person's cancer as it relates to the individual person's genetic makeup.
And is this, in essence, the project that you're working on now, then, applying those methods you just spoke about?
Yeah, so there are a number of groups in the Marathon of Hope projects that are working along those fields. We're actually trying to focus on some of the really aggressive cancers that otherwise have a very poor outcome or poor prognosis. And the idea here is, some of these cancers that despite our precision oncology advancements, particularly after somebody's gone through treatment, have failed treatment, and really we don't have very many options, we're saying, well, if we already know that there's a high likelihood of failing treatment, maybe we can look at these tumors really, really early on at the early stages of the treatment and do a precision oncology approach where we look at the genes and the proteins and see maybe instead of using the broad stroke general approach, we can find a customized way to treat these patients much earlier on, and which represents an alternative treatment strategy. We don't know whether it's going to leave the patient in a better shape and a worse shape, but it provides a science-guided way or research-informed care to help these patients, as opposed to just the general one where we know maybe after 4 or 5 years they're not in a great state.
So, how does the funding from the Terry Fox Foundation help projects like yours?
It's in multifold. The project funding itself allowed us to pull together groups of really talented scientists and clinicians who otherwise, have difficulty working together because we're so busy. But this is something we could rally around and say, hey, we can organize, we can put funds towards different aspects of the research question, and form this new group and tackle some of these really deadly forms of cancer. So the Marathon of Hope funding program has been a real beacon with which to start new research initiatives.
And does that funding continue indefinitely, or is it something where it specifically has to be applied for every project?
It does need to be applied for on an ongoing basis, but once you're in, you can continue. But really, that project can only continue because of the efforts of every person who's helping out with fundraising, participating in the runs, and being advocates for cancer research.
What would your message be to people who are involved in the run year after year, or even newcomers who are thinking about joining, and just exactly how much their support means, the money that they raise to help projects like the one that you work on, and also the ones that your colleagues are working on as well?
So unfortunately, I believe every single person on Earth has faith cancer one way or another, whether it's themselves, a member of their family, or their friends, or their community. But fortunately, that's mobilized people to want to do something about it. And so, what my message is, it doesn't matter whether you run 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers or the marathon, or whether you're able to only fundraise $5, $500, or $5,000. Every little bit counts. but it really sends that message that everybody is engaged, and it keeps me going as a researcher. That I see that engagement in the community. I like to participate in the run, but I see the fruits of my labor, that hope. Research, we make a joke that we spend 90% of our time in the phase over the search. But when I see people who are so engaged and so excited and passionate about cancer research, it keeps us going so that we can take those new discoveries and translate them to new treatments.
Dr. Ketchel, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it, and thank you so much for what you're doing. Your efforts are amazing, and literally will change many people's lives around the world. So thank you so much for what you do. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to your viewers, and hope to see you at the run.
And that's all for news. Sports is next, but first, here's a look at your closing market.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
It was an unforgettable season for the CPCA, with lots of tight races and great storylines. And I spoke to the radio host of the CPCA for a wrap on the year. Today I'm joined once again by Brinley Hassan, the CPCA radio voice, and she is here today to give us a little bit of a wrap-up on the CPCA season, which just finished up this weekend with the finals here in Lloydminster. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Brinley, as well as throughout the whole season.
Thank you for having me on again.
All right, Brinley, so a fantastic finish to the season here in Lloydminster at Halstead Downs. Logan Gorsta ends up getting the win there, as well as the High Point champion for the season. Just talk to me about how excellent he was, not only at the finals here, but just throughout the whole season, as he had a historic lead going into the finals here and gets the win as well.
Yeah, nobody was really going to be able to move him from that #1 spot going into the finals. Just based off of our point system, you can only gain about 20 or 22 points on a guy per day, and he was already in the hundreds ahead of the rest of the competition, so he was pretty secure in that space. And just, yeah, a phenomenal season for him. He won so many shows, he won dashes. It was, he really did dominate the season, so for him to be the High Point driver, it wasn't really a shock. And then going into that dash for cash, he got the one barrel, and it kind of felt like as soon as you saw that one barrel, it was like, oh, he's going to be hooking the good ones, and there's a pretty good chance he's going to take it, which is exactly what he did.
And so Logan Pethick is on one of the outriders for Logan, as well as he ends up being the outrider champion. Just talk to me about how those two outriders really helped out Logan in that final dash for cash to get the big win.
Yeah, so looking at Logan's outriders, it's the #1 and 2 guys in the outriding pen. So Logan's the best, and he's got the best riding for him as well. He's got Logan Pethick and Wyatt Dick on his leads and Stove. And Logan Pethick actually walked away having a really good Lloyd finals. He walked away with the Triple Crown, so he won the show aggregate with Ryan Baptiste. He was the High Point driver's outrider with Logan. He won the High Point outrider himself, and then the dash for cash. So that was definitely a good one for him.
Well, fantastic to hear that for Logan Pethick. And you mentioned Ryan Baptiste being the show winner. Just a little bit about him and how he has a great finish to the season, as he did have a little bit of struggles throughout the majority of the CPCA season this year.
Yeah, Ryan really did kind of have a bit of an up and down year. It was really close for him at a couple shows back in Wainwright. He was battling it out with Logan Gorse and just couldn't quite catch him. It was 600ths of a second, so that would have been a tough loss. And then even last weekend in Little Pine, he was so close. He put in the run he really needed on Sunday, and he had 2 late outriders, which ended up costing him the show. So he's really struggled a little bit this season just with some inconsistency, but we know he's a good driver, and it was a growing pains kind of year, which is necessary if you want to find more success. And he finally got to really finish the season on that high note.
And so finally, Brinley, this is your first year being as the CPCA radio announcer. Just looking back at the season as a whole, what were some of those highlights, especially throughout the whole season, and just for your first time being the voice here for the CPCA?
I absolutely loved it. Being on the radio I feel like I found something that's kind of my own, and I really, really like it. The season was so good. I found that this year the running was just better. The outriding pen stepped up, the horses were better, everybody seemed just a little more on their A game, and that was really nice to see everyone taking it to a better level. And yeah, it was just, there was lots of highlights. Colby Stanley getting kind of his breakout year was one of them for sure. I'm back in his barn lots, and yeah, he took it from being 25th in the standings a couple years ago to being 4th. So that was really cool to see him find some success like that.
Well, once again, thank you so much for all the time you've given us this year, Brynlee, and we look forward to hearing you once again when the CPCA season starts up next year. It's going to be fantastic, and we will have more CPCA coverage coming up next year, next summer. And now it's time to take a look at your cute pet pictures with our pets of the day.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to have them featured on Pet of the Day.
And now we're going to take a quick look at your 3-day forecast. Tomorrow it's going to be a little bit breezy in the morning, but otherwise plenty of sunshine, a high of 26 degrees and a low of 11. That low of 11 will continue into Thursday. It's going to be pleasant with clouds and some sun. A little bit cooler down to 22 degrees. And then we're going to see a bit of a mix of sun and cloud in the morning on Friday. Plenty breezy, but it will get all the way up to 28 degrees and a low of 13 degrees. So a really nice look here as we finish out this one of these last weeks here in August. And thank you for watching Primetime Local News. My name is Thomas Wildman, and have a great rest of your day.